One of the easiest ways to show how money really works is to think of it as though it were water. A drop by itself is nothing. It's tiny, powerless. Think of it as a single dollar, if you like. Not much can be done with it. However, as the drops gather, they gain mass and momentum. They flow into small streams and into rivers, creating a torrent of abundance. This abundance has moved mountains and carved vast canyons. It has literally shaped our entire planet. But also, as long as it's in motion, if it stops and pulls, there's no inward or outward flow. It stagnates and abundance begins to evaporate. The same is true of money. Many people think that you have to have a great deal of money to accomplish anything of value. That simply isn't true. It's just like water. Even small amounts of money applied in the right way can be deceptively powerful. When the average person looks at the very wealthy, the millionaires, or even the billionaires, he or she assumes that there's something unique or special about them, that they're more intelligent and savvy than normal people. And the answer is both yes and no. They're wealthy because they have thoroughly internalized the mindset of wealth, and that can never be taken from them. If they lost everything and went broke, they'd get back on their feet and become wealthy again because they come to understand how money works. That understanding is imprinted on the subconscious mind. Much other than that very fundamental difference, the wealthy are very just like everybody else. They work, they laugh and love, they have ups and downs just like you do. They have the exact same numbers of hours in the day just like everybody else, but they do quite astonishing things with their time, while most of us do very little. So what's the difference? Not very much, but yet it's everything. How you think, feel, and what you believe about money. We all know the cliche, seeing is believing. I'm telling you right now that is a skeptical and a negative view of the abundant and limitless opportunities that life has to offer you. It tells you that you can only trust what's in front of your nose and pay short shrift to the significant and even limitless power of your imagination, your intuition, and creative self. And yet, we hear it our whole lives over and over again. It becomes a part of our thought process and we don't even know it. Wealthy people understand that this cliche is exactly backwards. Before you see what you want, you have to internalize it. You must believe in what you can achieve. Only then will you see it happen. In other words, wealthy people follow the credo that believing is seeing. The only thing that makes you different from a billionaire right now is a wealthy mindset, and the cornerstone of that mindset is belief. It's said that wealthy people attract wealth. We know this to be true. How do they do it? They expect it. In their mind, no doubt clouds their goal. Nothing causes them to pause or hesitate. They don't worry about failure because in their mind's eye, all they can see is success. But there's a danger in sudden wealth. Because if you get rich before you've developed a wealthy mindset, then you fall in danger of losing that wealth forever. I mean, we've all heard about these lottery winners who end up penniless within a few years of winning millions of dollars. Why? Because they don't know what to do with it. They don't have a wealthy mindset. They don't know what to do with the money. They don't know how to move it. They just buy one of everything, one of every color. They fucking live these lavish ass lifestyles for a couple years. Then the money's fucking gone. All of it. I often meet people who are searching for a way to be wealthy as if it were something that you can search, hunt down, and keep. But in truth, wealth exists inside of you. There's things that you love to do. You would do these things even if you weren't paid anything to do them. Well, guess what? The people who create a great deal of wealth are doing exactly that. They love what they're doing. Money is not their goal. Money is not the dream. We're all hardwired to do something, and we need to find a way to do that. Wealthy people know that success and responsibility go hand in hand. They don't make excuses. They take action. How often have you seen two people in exactly the same business, in exact same location, selling the exact same products, but one is wealthy and the other is struggling? The circumstances are the same. What's the difference? It's their mindset. There isn't a such thing as a lack of potential. We're taught the exact opposite, that some have more potential than others, that some are smarter than others. Nonsense. Everybody has the exact same potential, and the wealthy are not superhuman geniuses. They're ordinary folks like you and I that do something in an extraordinary way. Everyone can achieve wealth. It's a matter of developing the skills. I cannot stress this enough. There is no such thing as a lack of potential. And it doesn't matter how many times I explain that or how many times you hear it. Your life will never change until you truly and honestly believe it. Believing is seeing. That is the basic truth, and you need to embrace it before you can go any further. Without it, changing your mindset simply will not happen. You may have a mindset right now that's a barrier from achieving what you... Think about it for a second. The simplest questions will reveal your programming to you if you're honest with yourself. So let's start. Let me ask you, are you comfortable talking about money with others, or does it make you a little edgy, as though it were something to talk about in whispers, as though it were taboo? When you do talk about money, do you shrug off questions about how much you earn, what you can afford, as though they weren't important? Do these subjects make you feel awkward and out of place? You wouldn't be the only one. Most people feel that way when they talk about money, because so few of us are where we want to be with our personal wealth and pursuit of it. But remember, believing is seeing. Think about how wealthy people talk about money. They're completely comfortable with it. There couldn't be any other subject of interest in their life that they embraced and chimed with happiness. They allow their ideas to flow. Financial success is not wealth. It's a consequence of achieving real wealth. That's what separates the truly wealthy from the rest of us. Finances, employment status, and time constraints do not control their path to success. Believing is seeing, and they are absolutely focused on these ultimate goals. Many of us get in our heads that being wealthy will require sacrifices that we don't want to make. Working harder, being away from our families, but sacrificing all our freedoms, neglecting those important things to us. That's the opposite of leading a wealthy life, isn't it? Remember, wealth isn't just about generating money. It's about doing what you love. It's about having time freedom to be able to spend that money. Because if you're working all fucking day, work 15-hour days, 7 days a week, and making all this money but have no time freedom, that's not success. But how can I think about wealth when I'm dirt poor? How can I think about doing what I love to do if I'm stuck in a job that I hate? These kind of thoughts poison the wealthy mindset. They infect your ability to believe in yourself, so that you can see where you need to go and what you got to do to get it. These questions make it plain for everyone that the person asking them have a long way to go before a wealthy mindset can be achieved. They lock themselves in a prison and they've thrown away the key. They've convinced themselves that they cannot achieve their own dreams. Why on earth would anybody do such a horrible thing to themselves? And yet, so many of us do, day in and day out. That prison is a crowded place. I call it the prison of perception. There's a reason for that. Because those prison walls aren't real at all. They only appear to... I'm sure you're familiar with many of these ideas that keep us from success. I'm not smart enough. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. I didn't graduate college. I'm afraid to fail. I'm too old. I'm too young. These negative thoughts make their way into the mind by repetition until your subconscious, that wonderful spiritual place where emotion resides and where everything is possible, is so weighed down with them that they dictate what we actually think. And as negative things happen throughout our life, they reinforce and their power grows. This is why most of us are convinced that we can never live a wealthy life. In our subconscious minds, we're programmed to believe it. We're programmed to believe it. So I started to read the book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I read it once, then I read it again. I kept reading it and reading it over and over again until I can practically repeat it. And slowly I started to realize that, like myself, the people around me were doing nothing. They weren't thinking. They weren't thinking about where they wanted to be or what they wanted to do. They were content to do what they were told when they had to and do nothing with the rest of their lives. However, because I was reading that book one day, it was almost like a light bulb was switched on in a dark room. I began to think. Everything in my world began to change. My income doubled. And then it doubled again. I went from making $20-some thousand a year to I went from making like $20-something thousand a year. Then I jumped it up to 36, and then I went up to 42. Last year I made 55, and this year I'm set to make around 60. And it's just because I changed the way I thought. But I'm still nowhere near where I want to be. But I'm making progress. I'm making progress because I changed the ideas that I operated with. I'm making progress because I changed my level of thinking. I no longer have a victim mentality. I know now that life is not after me. It's not trying to fuck me over every time I fucking turn. That's the mindset that I used to have. And everything was working against me, literally. Everything. I mean, I was in a bad fucking place. I didn't file taxes for 4 years. I owed so much money to the government. I was backed up on my child support so fucking much. I had a felony on my record. I mean, it was just all downhill for me, man. I mean, just focusing on fixing my shit. I had to do it for like a year straight just to be able to fucking get it. I mean, I had so much fucking debt, man. I had a fucking 500 credit score. I mean, it was all fucking bullshit. I mean, my life was fucking shit. And I was a fucking drug addict. And I couldn't stop fucking drinking, man. I couldn't stop running into fucking trouble. None of that fucking changed until I realized this. Until I realized that it was because of me. Because nothing changed until I realized how the subconscious mind works. Nothing changed. In fact, it was getting worse. It was getting worse. Now, I don't owe a single dollar to the government. My child support is almost paid off. My back child support, almost. I have a clean record. My credit score is jumping up. I mean, now it's all working for me. Everything is working for me now. You know, the freedom to think whatever it is that you want to think at whatever point of the day you're at, that's freedom. That's real freedom. To be able to think about what you want to think about whenever you want to think it. Not having to think it because of the circumstances that you're faced with. Not thinking it because you have to. Because you have no other choice. You have the ability to think independently from circumstances. And until you realize that you can do that, I don't think anything is going to change for you. I don't think anything is going to change for you. Because you become what you think about. Your life becomes what you think about the most. Just ponder on that. Next time you're in a negative mood, feeling bad about yourself and about life, think about that. Tell yourself, you become what you think about. What am I thinking about right now?